Okay. Are most of you done logging in or creating an account? Just give me a thumbs up whenever you're done. Okay, let's move on then. So first of all, we'll be talking about data types and variables. What are data types and variables in Python? Can anybody guess what a data type or variable is, or anybody want to explain? Feel free to unmute and say. You can also type it in the chat, anything you want. Cool. So what are data types? Data types are used to represent a type of an item. So some examples of data types in Python are int, which is like the value you use in Python, and which is an integer value. So like 5, 10, 20, 30, 1754, any like whole number. And then there's also floats. Floats are a number that contain a decimal point. It could be 12.5, 7.46. It could be like what pi is, 3.14. And then it could also be 87.0. That contains a decimal point. So any number that contains a decimal point can be counted as a float. So, and then there's also example of strings. A string is a word or set of characters. So it can be like in Python, it can be Python, it can be ABC 1, 2, 3. It can be 12. Whenever you're, and one thing is whenever you're printing on a string in Python, then you have to always put quotations around the string. And then there's Boolean, which is either true or false. We won't really be talking much about Boolean today, but just for reference, it's a data type. So variables, what are variables? Variables are symbols that represent a value. So let's think of it like boxes. You have 3 boxes. This box is an integer and it contains the value 5. It's 5, okay? And this box is string and it contains hello. And then there's floats. And then this box is floats, which contains like 5.6. So think of variable. The variable name is the name of the box, and the variable itself is what's in the box or what the box consists of. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or speak out loud. So naming variables. How do you name variables? Whenever you're naming a variable, always write descriptive names. So let's say you are creating a program about creating like a snake game. And then there's a variable where you're like creating the backboard of the game, right? Then you want to name it like backboard or game board. So like make sure to name the variable what value it holds. And whenever you're naming a variable, use underscores for many things. And I'll be talking about many examples. And then you should also use capital letters whenever you're naming a variable. An example is favorite int, fav underscore int, and happy birthday. And can anybody give me some examples of variables? A name of a variable? You guys can put it in the chat or speak up. Don't be shy. Just okay. Now printing variables. Whenever you're printing a variable, you want to put a statement like print. So I want to print something and parentheses, and inside you're going to put the variable name. So it's going to be like this. So print, let's say I have a variable. Let's say I have a variable named num. Okay. So I'm going to do print num. And then at the end of every statement, you're going to put a colon, a semicolon. Okay. So, and then to define what num is, before you print any variable, you need to define what it is, right? These are like num equals, anybody want to give me a value?
3.
25.
3? Okay. So num equals 3. So print num, and then it should print out 3. I'll be showing some examples later that then we can go over them. Okay, so an example right here. So input, we put number equals 200, semicolon, print parentheses number, semicolon. That prints out 200. And then food equals cake, print food, so it prints out cake. Anybody have any questions? Okay. So now I'm going to share an example. Give me 1 second. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go to Replit. And how, okay, now can everybody just open Replit? Okay, so then once you go to Replit, there should be this option where it says create and click on Python. And then you could name it anything. Intermetal 5773. Okay, so once you create this, it should show up for everyone. This should show up for everyone. You guys have that? You can give a thumbs up. Okay, thank you for those of you. So now let's create a value called favorite. Okay, how if I want to name like in a variable, I want to put my favorite food. How should I name that? What should I name it? Can somebody suggest something? Don't be shy, you can say anything. It's okay if you get it wrong or right, it doesn't matter. Everybody's in a learning phase.
Cookie.
Cookie? Okay. So inside, you want to put cookie as your favorite food, right? So how do you name the value? How do you name the variable? So cookie is a variable itself, right? So how would you name it?
Favorite food is equal to cookie.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Underscore I'm just gonna favorite. Since I don't want to get confused what the variable is, I'm going to put an underscore. Favorite food is equal to, and then this is a string, so you can put cookie. And then what do you do after this?
Semicolon. Favorite.
Sorry?
Print favorite food.
Okay. Am I missing something here?
A semicolon.
Yeah, good catch. Okay, now we're gonna run this and see, okay, it prints cookie. So another thing with strings is when you want to print something, you don't have to label it. So you don't have to name it like favorite food. You can also print it this way. You can just put, when you do print, you can just put cookie. Prints cookie. Yeah, and in Python, it depends on what version you have, but you don't always need the semicolon. But in some versions of Python, you may need it. Like without the semicolon, it also works. Replit has the latest version, so. Okay, do you guys understand that? Everything good? Okay, now let's do an example. Now, can you guys open your Replets and do this activity? And I'm going to quickly show you guys how to share. At the top right corner of your screen, there should be a thing that says invite. So I'll press invite and generate a join link. Just generate that join link. And then there should be this link, you copy it and then just paste it on the private chat whenever you are done. If you guys need any help, feel free to ask. I'll give you like guys 5-10 minutes to do it. And then we can talk about more things. And if you have any questions, always feel free to ask. Okay, I'm gonna stop. But okay. I'm gonna start sharing my screen again. You guys can see this, right? Okay, so anybody want to give me the one for integers? Anybody want to give me the next one? Or let's do this. What's something I could change this? My age is an integer, right? So do I need to keep it as a float or should I?
You can remain as
Sorry, what were you saying?
it doesn't have to be a float.
Yeah. Can somebody give an example of a float?
14.5 or 14.5.
Okay. So can somebody else give me an example of a variable name I could put for that? Okay. I'm just gonna put the variable name as num, right? So num equals 14.5, he said. So then what do I do next? Can anybody tell me?
We have pasted the links in our. Could you please check the links? We have posted it in the chat.
Okay, yeah, I'll take a look at yours right after this, okay? Thank you. So what do I print? How do I do this?
Print num.
Yeah, okay. Now let's run this. Cookie 14.5. Good job. If you guys didn't understand that, that's okay. You can ask any questions. But let's go for the challenge real quick. So print a sentence with your name, age, and hobby, right? So let's do this. So we just want to print a string, right? So what I said before, you can always print a string by doing this. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to define it always. So let's try that here. So print my name is Ashi. I am 14 years old. Is it okay if I keep writing like this? Then is there any other way I can make this? That you guys, with all the stuff that we learned about variables here, do you know any other way? Now maybe we can put this statement together.
You could print them separately.
Yeah, I could print them separately. Yeah, that's a good point. How about we do this? Let's create some, let's like define each of them with variables, okay? Let's forget about, okay, let's leave this next. So let's make a variable for each thing. First, my name is Ashi, right? Age, I already have a variable for age here, right? So I'll just write it again, age equals 14. And then hobby, my hobby is, I like to read, okay? So then how can I print this? Can anybody suggest anything?
Could you write print?
Name plus age plus hobby.
hobby.
Okay, yeah. Plus age plus hobby. You can print it like this too. Oh, what did we do wrong here? Oh, okay. So one thing here, this is what I want you guys to notice. So whenever you're printing something, then all of the things that you're printing in this way, like name, okay, so my name is plus Ashi, right? It should print that. So my name is Ashi. But here they don't have a period at the end. So what do I add? Plus parentheses, since period is like its own character, then I have to put a dot here like this. My name is Ashi, run. And then it adds a period. So that's basically how you print a sentence. And then over here, you can just add plus and make a new sentence. I am 14 years old. I like to read. And you can do that however you want. Okay, that's that. Now let's move on to something new. Everybody understand what's going on so far? So next of all, operators. Can anybody tell me what they think operators are? All right, let's go into what operators are. So operators are like math operations, like you do addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, and everything that happens. That's an operator. It's a math operator. Like if you've ever done like PEMDAS, they call it like parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. That's the order. Those are operators. Order of operations. So we can use these different operators in coding and like doing adding of values. So an example here is, so you input, I'm adding the sentence one here. X equals 10 and Y equals 5. So we define the two, right? We define the two variables here. Now we want to create a new variable called sum. So sum equals X plus Y. Yes, you guys get that so far?
Yeah.
Okay, so sum equals X plus Y. And then you want to print a statement saying the sum of two numbers is, so you do print parentheses, the sum of two numbers is, quote, and then the quote ends over there, they put a space, plus string sum. Because right now sum is an integer, you're going to put it into, you're going to turn it into a string for a statement to print correct, right? And then you put a period at the end to end the sentence, and it should print out the sum of two numbers is 15. And then we can create a new variable called product. Product equals X times Y. Print the, and now we're printing the statement, right? The product of two numbers is space string prod this. And you don't always need to define the, variable before. You can always add the variable in the middle, like string parentheses X and 2 stars means exponent. So x to the power of y. So 10 to the power of 5. And let me show you an example. Okay. Now, what do you guys want to do? Let's create num. Let's say I'm an integer num1. What 2 values do you want to add? Or let's name the value add. What 2 do you want to add? Anybody want to give any suggestions?
X and Y. X and Y.
Okay, yeah. For x and y, we need to define x and y, right? What would you define x? What would you define y?
X
14 and
2.
15.
Sorry, what?
14 and 15.
14. X is 14, y is 15. So when you add, you want to add x plus y. Yes? Now what will we do if we want to get what x plus y is?
Print the sum of the.
Yeah, so what's the value of x plus y that you would print? What does x plus y equal that you would want to print?
14 plus 15.
The sum of two
Sum of-
numbers is
Sum of X, Y. Space.
The sum of x and y is, and then you would add the plus sign. Then what is the sum?
String sum.
x plus y.
Yeah, good job. Plus now you want to add a period at the end, right? So you think that'll work?
Yeah.
Let's run it. Oh, sorry, let's cut this statement out. Yeah, sum of x and y is 29. It just added the 2 numbers easily, right? What's another way we can do this? Can somebody explain? Anybody want to explain another way?
Can write x plus y.
X plus y? Yeah. How would we write that though?
String X plus Y.
String x plus y. Right? You guys, look, it prints out the same thing. So you can do it anyway. You don't really need to define the variables. And you can do the same thing with subtraction, like x minus y, x plus y. So let's try this. Let's change this to a negative sign. All right, let's choose a positive sign. And I'm going to create a copy of this. This is x plus y, right? And I want to do x minus y. So what we change is right? Is this right, guys?
Difference of x and y.
Yeah, good one. So, and then we want to change the name of the variable too, right? It's not adding anyone. And then the difference of x and y is -1. So it multiplies number, it subtracts numbers, it does everything. Okay, do you guys get that? Thumbs up? Okay, so now another practice one. If you guys can do this on Replit and share. So you have to create a program to calculate the area of a triangle. You all know how to calculate the area of a triangle?
Could you please repeat what you said?
So you wanna create a program to calculate the area of a triangle. So the area of a triangle,
Half times base times height.
yeah, okay. So half times base times height, right? That's the area of a triangle. So now you want to create a variable called length and width because your length and width of a triangle. Then you want to multiply them according to the formula, half times width times height. Then you want to print the results. And how would this, and then after you do that first, and then we'll discuss how it would work for non-whole numbers. Okay? Do that on Replit, share the link. If you need any help, always feel free to ask. Okay, so I'm gonna put up the operators one again, so you guys can take a look at this. Here. So addition. So let's name base. What do you guys want the base to be?
12.
12. Then what other variable do we define?
Height.
What should
20.
20? Yeah. let's go with this. Right? And then what do we want?
Length.
Oh, yeah. So basically what we did here, instead of length, we just put it as base. So since the variable we said was length. So it was like create a variable's length and width, right? Length and width. Width is in terms of a rectangle. So let's just keep it as, whenever you talk about a rectangle, it's base and height, right? So let's keep it at base and height. This may be a bit wrong, but base and height. So how do you guys want to go about this? What's one way we can find the area of this triangle?
Print half times 12 times 20.
Half times, if we want to do half times 12 times 20, should we define the variables or how do we want to multiply it? We can do
Half times height.
half times what, sorry? What were you saying?
I think she said half times height times base.
Okay, yeah, that's good. And let's run this. 120. So whenever Python runs anything, whenever Python returns a number, it'll return it in the form of a float, even if you put in an integer. So this is one way to do it. Good job. Another way I would suggest, can anybody tell me another way maybe we could do this?
Write a sentence.
Yes, we could write it a sentence, but let's create a variable called triangle, right? Triangle. So what's the area of a triangle? Half times height times base. digits. Yes?
And then we could print triangle.
Yeah, we could just print the variable triangle. Print triangle one. 120, it returns the same thing. So there's many ways of doing one problem, but it's always up to you. Some ways may take longer than others. Some ways may be easier, this and that, but it's always up to you how you want to do it. So that was it for this activity. Anybody have any other questions? No? Okay, so this, sorry, did you have a question?
No.
Okay. So we just want to say thank you for coming. Thanks to our sponsors too, who helped this workshop become true and everything that's happened today. And if you guys are attending other workshops, thank you for attending and please be up to date. We may be sending you some emails about some workshops or some other events happening later. So be up to date in that. And thank you so much. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. And you can email us at inkandmetal5773@gmail.com. And thank you.